Hello and welcome to my country garden. Well, you're joining me in the last weekend in July. Can you believe it? I'm afraid I didn't get a video out last week. I must apologise for that. It's been a bit manic around here, and actually last weekend I picked up some new additions for the garden. So later on in this video I will introduce you to them. So my garden is a sixth of an acre. It's hard to sort of visualise what a sixth of an acre is, but it's a fairly big garden. And anyone that's watched my channel for any length of time knows that I moved here about 3 years ago. It's completely overgrown, the garden. Trees, the ivy, brambles, nettles, evergreen shrubs that were just horrendous and overgrown as well. It was just a bit of a nightmare, but I came into it knowing that there would be a lot of work needing done, but the fact that it was such a large garden made it really attractive. I'm doing this on my own. I'm not enlisting any external parties to help me with the garden, with a few exceptions such as having the shed built and so on. But mostly I'm sort of taming the garden on my own, and it's taking time. And the challenge is, of course, that once you tame one bit and you move on to the next, if you don't keep on top of the bit you've already tamed, it gets overgrown again. So it's a bit of a battle, and I'm winning it mostly. But of course, you know, as with I'm sure all of you, other things get in the way. Life gets in the way, full-time jobs get in the way, etc. So that said, what I would like to do today is show you some of the areas of the garden, actually introduce you to them a little bit more than I have done. Because quite often I focus in on a particular bed that I'm working on rather than showing you the general area that that bed exists in. And to be fair, a lot of that is because some of the garden is still a bit of a disaster area. Blech. And to be fair, that's because some of the garden is still a bit of a disaster area. I'm not the tidiest gardener. Because there's so much to do, I tend to rush from one area to another, not really tidying up after myself. I'm bad at that. I know that's one of my main issues. I need to get better at that. But by way of chronicling what the garden is like right now, or certain areas of the garden is like right now, what I thought I would do is give you a quick look at a couple of areas, an area that I'm making good progress in, and an area yet to do. And then maybe in future videos I'll show you some other areas, and I'll give you updates on what's happening in the parts that I've already shown you. I hope that you will find that interesting. And if anybody has any suggestions for making this easier for myself, and suggestions for what I can do in some of the areas that I haven't tamed yet, please let me know. I am more than happy to receive such comments, because sometimes you get a bit focused on something and don't realise the potential or whatever. So without further ado, let me show you the back area in the garden, warts and all. So the area we're going to look at is the area beyond the chicken run. So there's large chicken run, there's the small chicken run. And so it's the area beyond that up towards the back of the garden. And if I just first of all pan around, hopefully the light doesn't get in the way too much because we're pointing into where the sun is, although it's hidden at the moment. You can see a sort of general idea of what this looks like. I'll just walk over and walk through this area so you can get an idea of what it's about. So this bed really I made just by putting large rocks and logs together, and I've got some perennials in here such as Aquilegia, and I think there's an Astrantia in here somewhere, and there's a hart's tongue fern down there. But you can see there's a lot of cosmos and calendula in here. Need to do a bit of deadheading. I can do that really easily, hopefully. Then we have this big cypress tree. I'm actually under it, so I'll just very large cypress tree. It is a beautiful tree, and it adds some shade to the chicken run, which is there. Around the base of the tree I've got some pots that I've got gladioli in, and if I walk over to the fence, I've got some little raised beds. These haven't worked tremendously well this year. This is a bean called a Polish Independence bean. I thought they were going to grow all the way up the teepee that I made. I've got the beans forming now. I don't think I'm going to get that many, and yeah, I nearly tore these out actually, but I'll grow them on till I get beans and have them dried, and I'll use them for next year perhaps. The little round metal beds, I love these little metal beds. I've got them in other areas of the garden, and the plan for 2 of them was to have lots of flowers in, homegrown flowers. It looks a bit rubbish though, to be honest, just the varieties that I've got in here. So we've got these straw flowers, which are beautiful. I didn't realise how tall they grew though. This is the first year I've grown them. Well, maybe the first year in, or the second time in a decade, but I couldn't remember the last time I actually had such flowers. So they're lovely. Then we've got a hollyhock that is starting to flower. But other than that, these are sort of daisy-like flowers that haven't grown up yet, and this is snapdragons. And it's a bit of a mess, to be fair. So didn't do a very good job of this one. Could do better. Oh, there's an amaranthus there as well. So it's a bit messy. Here, here we have some peas that are sort of starting to go over, but these are Robinson peas. I got a modest number, but there's obviously been a potato in here because I've got a volunteer potato as well, so I'll get something from that. And then I have another one of the flower beds, the little metal raised beds with the flowers in. And again, it doesn't look very picturesque. Bit of a mess, to be honest. Could do better in that front, but these are all annuals, so I will sort that out next year. Then we have what is potentially a bit of a monstrosity, but it's functional. This is a little greenhouse that I greenhouse that I built of spare stuff around the garden. And in here, we'll call it my pepper house just now. We have some sweet peppers. They're not huge, but we are getting fruit on them. I also have some spring onions in here, and I had some carrots, but I left this open, and I think a little local bunny rabbit's been in munching them, so I've got a few carrot seedlings there, but the rest have been munched. But this will be good. I don't know what I'll do over the winter in here, but it's a good protected area for something. So any suggestions? Oh, I can't shut this with one hand. There we go. Any suggestions as to what I could put in there over the winter would be very well received. Now you can begin to see some of the untamed bits of this area. There's a tree stump down here that's got some ivy on it. There's some general weeds and things over here. So I need to sort that out. And again, there's some weeds and such like here. This little area here, I've got 3 sunflowers and I've got 3 outdoor girl tomatoes. So the outdoor girl tomatoes are giving me fruits. Oh, that one has split. But you can see that I've got tomatoes on this one as well. I've had a couple, well, I've harvested a couple. I haven't tried eating them yet, so I don't know what they taste like, but they're there, they're doing it. And then I've got these 3 sunflowers that, because that's east over there, the sunflowers are looking at my neighbours rather than looking at me. You'll see that there's black plastic there, very unsightly, but this whole back area, all the way along, completely overgrown with ivy and other weeds. And the only way I could tame it for now is to put some cardboard down. You can see some cardboard exposed there and black plastic. It's not there forever, but I just want to kill as much as possible what is underneath. So for now, I've got various pots here. There's another sunflower that's showing itself to my neighbour. I've had some nice pickings from these 3 dwarf French bean plants. Nearly ready to harvest a few more. That's amethyst, and it's got a purple bean on it, which is lovely. I'm being attacked here by one of my apple trees. This one didn't give me any apples this year. It gave me loads last year, and that was its first year. I shouldn't have let it give me so many. Its leaves are turning dark. Hopefully that's not an indication that it's not well. Over here is the other apple tree that I only got a couple of apples from last year. This is a russet, and there's a few fruit on that, so that's quite nice. So this area in between, I suppose this will become a guild where I've got some little fruit trees and a variety of other things. I've got some strawberry plants in there, and actually there's some onions, and there was some lettuce in here, and some chard. I noticed the chard has been eaten though, down there. And there's a nice piece of willow herb weed there. There's also some mare's tail that comes up, but it's easy enough to pull out. Left at my backside is this onion that has bolted, and it's only tiny, so there's not really worth doing anything with it. So I definitely need to get that into the compost. And then we have more pots of things across the back, including some new or 1-year-old and 2-year-old fruit trees. This is a cherry tree. Now this is meant to be a dwarf cherry tree, and it's dwarf in height but not in width of the branches. So my plan for this is, it's in a pot, as you can see. I'm going to make a sort of platform, dig a platform further up the slope there, and then I'm going to position the pot up there so that the branches, you know, run along the fence line, and it just stops me knocking into them when I'm walking through here. I've also got some hostas there. I love hostas, but obviously the slugs eat them all the time. This is a rock rose. It's done its flowering, but you can see there's some cleavers growing through it. A tree stump here that has some, well, it's starting to sprout, and it also has some ivy on it, so I need to sort that out. Then we have some new fruit bushes this year. We have a red gooseberry, a thornless blackberry, and the other one I got was this one here, which is, what is it? Can't even remember. Oh yeah, this is a blackcurrant Big Ben. Not getting anything from this year or the others really. Well, these fruits were on. These fruits were on when they arrived through the post. Let's just see. No, that's hard. So yeah, these fruits probably aren't going to be edible, but hopefully next year. I don't know what I'm going to do with these, whether I'm going to make an area and have a fruit cage or what. It's just, you know, what area can I tame for that? Then we have this patio plum. Now this is actually, I got this year. I bought a patio plum from Pomona Fruits, and it died. I got it last year and it died. It wasn't doing very well at all, and I showed them videos of when I got it and what it became, and they actually sent me this as a replacement. And this is the fig that I got from the same company last year, and it's looking great this year. No figs yet though. And then it's all a bit of a guddle here, but I've got some turnip, little purple top turnips in there. I have Oregon sugar pods. These are just sort of going over now, so I'll collect the seeds. This little strawberry over there, and then this had a small TP with sweet peas, but it's gone now. And then we have this bed. This bed is new for this year, filling it with flowers and perennials, so it's looking okay. And another couple of pots of French beans. One of them's Pongo, not got any from them yet, and the other one is Safari. And then looking from this side, I've got these 2 big metal raised beds, and I've already had some cracking cauliflowers from this one, and I can see there's a cauliflower there that actually needs picked. It looks like it's going over. I've got another couple of cauliflowers to pick in here. And I had the first picking of broccoli or calabrese, and I can see that one's flowering there. And I've popped in some calabash cabbage in here to see if we can grow those on. Looking a wee bit chomped, but not too bad. The one behind me, if I just go here, this is a bed of two halves. The left-hand side has got parsnips, grown very tall. So that's parsnips in that side, and in this side we have sweet candle carrots, which I've already harvested a few from. Let's just go in and you can see a bit more. What's that? I think there's a weed there as well. I'll have to have a look. But you can see that it's looking not bad at all. Let's just grab a carrot while I'm here. I'm thinking of doing a vegetable show this autumn, and I'm thinking that carrots, I might have a chance of getting 3 carrots the same. So I don't want to pick too many, but let's just pick out a carrot from there. Wow. That is a very nice carrot, and I'm sure they'll get even bigger than that, but isn't that a night? Oh, if I could get 3 like that, I'd be really happy for the show. Very pretty. And I'd like to thank Mark from Mark's Allotment. It was him that recommended Sweet Candle in one of his videos, and I think I'm getting, yeah, I think they're doing well for me. So that's one that I'll have a munch on tonight. Okay, let's get our bearings again then. So we've been all the way around the back of the fence, over to that corner just about, and then we're looking at these 2 raised beds. What else have I got in this area? I've got this bed here. This is 2nd year for it, I think, and you can see I've got a couple of big sunflowers in there. I got some nice Shasta daisies, so these come back year on year, and I've got a few shrubs in there such as pieris and skimmia, as well as a heucherella, and some astilbe there you can see with the lovely deep pink plumage. And I've got another one at the other side. This is a white one. This is a newer one, so it's not as grand as the pink one in the middle. I'm jumping about a bit, but you can see here I've got an onion bed. The onions are pretty naff, so not very big at all. These are fasto, and then another little bed with some strawberries in. I'll need to empty that out a bit. It's all a bit big. The swing seat, which is a must. This is the favourite part of the garden for us when we're out here sitting and watching the chickens and watching the hills, because we do have lovely views from up at the back of the garden. We're very lucky. I've got another bed here. The onions in here are even worse. I've had a terrible year for onions. These are red onions, and I'm just going to rip them out. They've all collapsed. I'm going to use this bed for something else. There's some willow herb weeds there as well. Horrible, horrible. Sweet pea teepee, loads of sweet peas. Need to get those picked. And then we're at the other side of the garden, and here we can see my 3 big pots of hostas. The middle one here does get munched a bit more. This one seems to cope with the slugs a lot better, and this one does, although it does need a water. And then just another couple of sunflowers there that are a bit munched. And there's the sweet peas that I pulled out of the empty pot I showed you a minute ago. And you can see I need to do a bit of weeding and such like here as well. But from this corner, you can see along the back of the garden that we've just been in. And the very last part in the top area in the garden is actually used by my chickens, and we can see the small chicken run here. And I'm going to talk to you about who's in there in a second. And then I've got this chicken, it's not fully up yet, this chicken fencing to fence off this area from the rest of the garden so that the chickens in the big run don't get in there when I don't want them to. And there's a dust bathing area there, and then some rubbish sitting next to this old shed, and that old shed is a completely other story. And one of my green men, he's lovely, I love him. Oh, sunshine. So, I hope I wasn't too swinging around the camera too much there. That's the back area of the garden. That's probably a quarter of the garden, maybe a third. So there's lots of good things happening. There's some not so great things happening, but it's progress from, oh, I can't see. It's progress from what it used to be. Okay, that's an area of the garden that is sort of under control, albeit there's still plenty to be done there. Now let me show you another area of the garden that needs a little bit more work. So we're going to walk down the path from the back of the garden where I've just been. And, you know, there's some lovely colour and the main growing area in the middle there. And then we sweep round to here. And actually this was sort of tamed, but I left it and it's now a bit of a disaster. So as you can see, the area is covered in brambles and grasses and just general weeds. And there's an orange wheelbarrow here that I had things planted up in, and in fact there's a lovely astilbe that's on its side. The wheelbarrow tipped up during some bad weather. And I did actually have this partially tamed, but obviously not tamed enough. And over at the back there is a little wood store. And over at the back there is actually a little storage area behind the big shed. And at the side here, more brambles and docks and things. So it's a good area, a really good area. Let's get out of it. I did grow some cracking Kent blue peas along here. You can see they're all yellow now, so I'm just waiting on them to dry, and then I'm going to have a lovely, hopefully, batch of Kent blue peas for next year. And I think I'm going to have quite a lot. So if you do want a few Kent blue peas, I'm not saying I'll have enough for lots of people, but do drop me a note, because I might have enough to give some Kent blue peas out to 2 or 3 people if you want to grow them next year. But back to this. This is going to be a bit of an effort to clear, and then I'm just going to have to get some weed suppressant fabric down to get on top of it and get some wood chip. And then I've got an area that I can do something with. And what might that be? Any ideas? We do have that little wood shed in the back, so probably I do want to have a path directly to that. I could put another couple of beds in. I could make it a seating area. Yeah, let me know what you think. There's more horrendous stuff down there, but not for today. I'll cover that in another video. Hello girls. What have you found? Okay, before I go, I just want to introduce you to 3 new arrivals to the garden. Very excited about them, and I hope you will be too. Now, this is a small chicken run, and I'm looking in. So let's go in. These little guys are, or gals I should say, because there's 3 girls, and these are young Barnevelder hens. The 2 little ones are 11, well they'll be 12 weeks old now, and the bigger one is 13 weeks old. Last weekend we drove down to Durham from central Scotland, so it was about a 3.5, 4 hour drive. We stayed overnight in Durham, and then on Sunday morning we picked them up and brought them up the road. Barnevelder is a breed of hen that I've had before, and in fact one of my original hens, Hamble, was a Barnevelder, and I'll pop in a photograph of her in the video just so you can see what they look like as adults. Usually when we buy new chickens, we'll get them at about 18 to 20 weeks old, and that's them. They are called point of lay because that means they're ready to start laying. But I was in touch with a chap in Durham, as I say. I couldn't find any in Scotland, and I was in touch with him when he had first set his eggs in the incubator, and I waited on them to hatch and then waited on him to be able to confirm the sex of the chicks, because you can't tell very early on. So he eventually could sex them so that I knew I was only going to get hens. And I went down, or Tom and I went down to pick them up. Now, a couple of them have some feathers missing because, you know, just in the pen they were in, there was a lot of birds, and sometimes they, you know, they sort of peck at each other just to assert dominance and so on. So there's a few little feathers missing, and that's why in this girl you'll see a purple tinge, because if there's any bleeding or sign of bleeding or sort of red flesh, you want to make sure you change the colour of it, because as soon as chickens see red, they peck at red and can inflict quite a lot of damage on each other. So that's why you see a little bit of purple tinge there. But they are lovely, lovely girls. Now, everything didn't completely go to plan, sadly. We were very careful when we brought the 3 little girls up the road that they had plenty of ventilation, and we made it as stress-free as possible. But it is quite stressful for young birds to be transported, particularly that distance. So when they arrived home, we gave them food and water, and they seemed to be quite happy. Unfortunately, one of the little girls, who is now called Betty, she really wasn't looking very well, so ended up going to the vet the next day. And she's now got some antibiotics and has a little touch of a disease called coccidiosis, which can be present, particularly in young birds. It can be present, but doesn't tend to surface unless they're stressed. So little Betty was stressed, and so we had to take her to the vet. So she's still, I'll turn round, she's, you know, scratching about, and she's eating and drinking, but she's actually almost, you know, not keeping up in growth with the other girl that's that age. This is Wilma. Wilma's the same age as Betty, and Betty's just been sort of held back a little bit by the illness. But she's picking up. She sleeps a little bit more than the others, but she is active, as you can see, and eating and peeping, making a lovely peeping noise. So I have every hope that she'll recover fine and grow up to be a lovely Barnevelder hen, just like the other 2 will be. So naming wise, we've got little Betty over there, as I said, Wilma, And the biggest of the three, that's only a week older than the other two, this is Maisie. So Maisie, Betty and Wilma. A little bit moth-eaten as they're growing up, but as you can tell from the photograph I popped up, they will be beautiful, beautiful girls when they're older. Let me see if I can pick one up just so that you can get an idea of their size, because they are quite teeny. This is Wilma. Hello, darling. And you can see she is small. Little teeny tiny. Who's that? But you can see the lovely you can see the lovely colouring in the feathers. There you go, darling. Oh. Oh, that's a pair of them. Just trying to see who's boss. Oh look, here's little Betty now. Time for sleep. Here's little Betty. Hey, there's Betty. If anything, Betty's feathers are even nicer than Wilma's at the moment. Hey, there you are. So there you have it, 3 new arrivals to the garden. That makes a total of 9 hens now. These 3 will stay in this run and coop until they grow up a bit more, until in particular Betty's feeling a bit better. And probably in about 5 or 6 weeks' time, we will start to integrate them with the big flock when they're much bigger and can stand on their own 2 feet and won't get too bullied by the others. So I'll take you along in that journey, and I'll keep you posted in my other videos on progress on the 3 new little girls. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and I will talk to you again very, very soon. Bye bye for now.